Oh, I picked a bad Sunday for dramatic eye makeup. I am prepared. Last week, Waco and David and Diana and I had the opportunity to attend the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly of Congregations on behalf of this community. As it was a Unitarian Universalist event, we went to a lot of meetings. We learned a lot. We girded ourselves, and we sang. And then we sang, and then we sang some more, which is my favorite part of General Assembly. And I have a slight suspicion it might be David's favorite part of General Assembly, and Diana's favorite part of General Assembly. Waco might have learned some really good stuff. and sang. We came and we worshiped together, and on Sunday morning we were all together, and I want you to imagine this sort of surreal experience that we have, which is 4,000 Unitarian Universalists get together in a conference center, in a big auditorium, and worship together, and sing together, and sometimes when all of our voices lift, it is this glorious moment where you feel invincible, and then sometimes there's like someone having a chat behind you about where they're going to lunch at a table. It's a little weird. So we're holding both these things. And we're singing, I feel the love coming down on me, and we're singing, and I'm feeling it, and I'm standing next to my mother, the person who brought me to Unitarian Universalism, and I see her cross the aisle to where members of her congregation are standing, and gather them hand in hand and start the world's dorkiest dance. Okay? Imagine it. 4 people just do. And look, y'all have met me. I was just like dancing during the choir anthem. I cannot stay still. I love church dancing. I believe in our embodied spirits that come out in worship. I am so here for it. But the embodied spiritual preacher did not respond to that moment. The daughter did. And maybe some of y'all have a daughter self or a son self or a child self or a parent self, which isn't exactly the best version of yourself. If it's the child self, it maybe started to develop around age 12. And so instead of the way I would feel if I was the preacher, seeing people moving their bodies in any way, this joy that people were in it, all I thought was, oh, mother. Really? Must you always? Spoiler alert for the rest of the sermon, yes, she must, always. So I'm watching this and I'm in my feelings about how this is always, and I'm also in my feelings because I know I'm wrong, right? I know preacher self is standing there being like, this is not the right emotion to be having. And then there's the other part of me being like, yeah, really, you think you can have the right emotions all the time? Good luck with that. And I'm also listening to the music and singing and having feelings. It was a whole big thing. So much so that it distracted me for a second from my actual surroundings. I was busy with my imaginary surroundings. And I saw a couple teenage boys who had been sitting behind my mom's church community. And they were kind of whispering to themselves. I don't know about you, but when a group of teenage boys starts whispering to themselves, I get a little anxious. And then one of them ran up, grabbed the hand of one of the church members, started dancing. I got my tissues ready. Then another, and then there was this huge, long line of Unitarian Universalists doing a joyful dance. This multi-generational, beloved community that started because my mom's a dork. And I remembered that my mother is shameless, and that is a good thing. But when I say that she's shameless, it makes it sound like maybe she's just one of those people who magically dances through life with nothing touching them. And I think what I should say is actually that my mother is shame resistant. She was born in 1945. As a child who knew she wasn't a girl or a boy, as a little person who knew the people she wanted to love were not the people she was supposed to love. She was a teenager in Toledo, Ohio in the 1950s. It's not that no one has ever tried to make her feel shame. The whole world has tried to make her feel shame. And at every single step, she has said, no. If you want me to be ashamed, it is you who have a problem, not me. And she flexed that muscle so much for 79 years that now I think it is kind of natural. And when I was 14, not great. That act of willful resistance of shame is one that every queer person knows. To be lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex, transsexual, transgender, genderqueer, to be anything outside of what a narrow group of people think is correct is to have been told, at least once in your life, by someone you love, that there's something wrong with you. Probably more than once. To be queer in this world, in this country, in this time, is to be told you should be ashamed and making the active decision not to be. Compared to the act of telling your father that you don't care who he thinks you should marry, dancing naked in a parade is actually not that hard. We do this beautiful thing, we have pride celebrations, and we act like it's easy. But it is born of resistance. It is born of individual acts of courage, of saying no, 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 and then hydrating for a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Pride in all of its glory, in all of its rainbow and glitter, is the end result of a great deal of work. Heartbreaking, beautiful work. And getting through those moments, convincing people that, in the words of the Trevor Project, it gets better, has been made easier by my bedrock belief that it does. That these acts of resistance have become not infrequent, but maybe less frequent, that the world was getting gentler, more loving. When I was a 4-year-old marching in a pride parade, I am told, I choose to believe I remember, that as my family's contingent of gay families walked by, people burst into tears. Because the idea that gay people were whole and normal enough to have kids was a miracle. And yesterday, I was at the Dyke March, and there were so many kids that I think we were bugging people. There's a huge playground in the middle of the celebration. I thought things were getting better. Things did get better. My mom couldn't adopt me until I was 12 years old. And then it was only because they found some rogue judge who was doing second parent adoptions. My wife's name is on my son's birth certificate. This is my faith. When things are hard, when we stumble, when our movements for justice are imperfect, I can turn and say, but look, I watched the arc bent. And it is this faith that felt under attack a week and a half ago when the Supreme Court decided that some kids don't deserve health care. It is this faith that was under attack when the Supreme Court also decided that some people are so delicate they can't even know that gay people exist. That children's books called Mommy and Mama and Me in the Middle are a threat to our social fabric. And I was heartbroken and ashamed. And then I heard some voices that should know better saying, well, maybe we pushed a little too hard. Maybe that's why we lost. Maybe we should stop talking about those people. Always those people. Maybe the world could change more quickly if we just only changed it for some of us. And to hear the pre-compliance did not break my heart, and it did not make me ashamed. It made me want to start a riot. I was ready to be with Marcia and Sylvia and Storm and throw the first brick. But because I am a preacher, my bricks are words. And the brick I so badly want to shove at people is the one that has been shoved at us. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I am ready to pull myself to my full preacher height in my full preacher shoes and throw shame back at people. I'm ready. Oh, wait. That might not work. The truth of the matter is that anyone who thinks that a child learning that two people of the same gender presentation might have a baby is somehow perverting them is already ashamed of something. I don't know what. I don't want to know what. They can deal with that. I suppose I can deal with it if they want to try. Shame, in a paraphrase of the Reverend Dr. King, will not force out shame. Only love will do that. I hate that that's true. I am so ready to use other weapons. But the master's tools will not bring down the master's house, satisfying as the act of trying might be. And so, I've got what I've always got, which is love and hope and the deep belief that all of us need all of us to make it. And all of us means all of us, even those people. All of us need all of us to make it. And I think sometimes we misunderstand that phrase when we repeat it. I think sometimes we think that those of us who are closer to the center need to protect the people at the margins. That the people at the margins need all of us to take care of them to make it. The problem with that would be that most of us are fairly self-involved. And if we think that we're just protecting other people out of the goodness of our hearts, that revolution doesn't last. We have tried this before. When we try to make ourselves smaller, more acceptable, less noticeable, what we get is unfinished revolutions. And the thing about an unfinished revolution is you can turn it back. When we say all of us need all of us to make it, what we mean is those of us in the center need the people at the margins to remind us that there is not one way that we can eliminate from our own spirits or our communities enough to be safe. There isn't ever enough. If you will cut off one part of your spirit or one part of our human family in order to protect the whole, they will not say, "Why, thank you, welcome." They will hand you the knife and tell you what to cut off next. All of us need all of us to make it. And the people who can't hide, the people who don't have a choice, remind the rest of us that someday we won't either. People on the margins have been practicing shame resistance their whole lives, and we have some stuff to learn. After my mother's dance, she came up to me and said, "Well, I don't have much rhythm, but I have an awful lot of spirit." There are people with an awful lot of spirit who are ready to show us the way where all of us make it, where all of us fight, where all of us become so shame-resistant that our teenagers hate us. And that we insist on our beauty, no matter what. The Spirit is moving. Listen. Move with it. May it be so. Amen.